Welcome to STA Extra number 8. Today we have Debs Thurlow-Rowley with us, who is going to be introducing a new series that is going to be coming to you, lovely members of the STA. Debs, welcome.
Hi, welcome to me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome to you. You're going to be introducing some stuff around pelvic health, basically, aren't you? So,
yep.
Should we start off a little bit about you? So, kind of your background, how you got into the industry, whatever you feels necessary for us to know, or what's interesting about you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, there's nothing interesting. Let's start with why I got into let's start with why I got into the industry. So many years ago, it seems like a lifetime now, I was looking to develop more into sort of hands-on stuff. So I did anatomy and physiology, and then did massage. And then my life took different turns and twists, as life does. And then I eventually sort of came back to it full time. So I did it sort of friends and family, and I had a few clients mobile wise. And then I came back full time to it in 2018, relaunched my business of Serenity Massage Therapy. And it's quite funny because most people say there's nothing serene about your massages. They're quite brutal, apparently. They're not that brutal, they're very nice. And from when I first ever massaged my son because he had a pinched colon when I was 22, to then doing some work with other people along the way that had issues, I became interested in the fact that not one person is the same, and you may see over and over something, but it's never quite the same. We are all unique in our way, and I really wanted to do something that was personalized to every single person that walks through my door, basically. So that's a little bit about why I did it and then how I got started, really. So I started when I was 22 with baby massage, and then took a bit of a gap whilst the baby grew up, and then he's now 24, and so qualified when I was 30 and have been practicing on and off since.
Good. So what other stuff did you kind of do when you were kind of saying you were in and out and you?
So life took some different directions. So I actually set up a business with an ex-husband of mine, and then we're no longer together. So I concentrated on that business, which was completely different to what I do for a living. So it was commercial interiors, so it's very, very different. But I used to work in a sales background many years ago as well. So I helped develop that business, and I did business development and things like that. So I sort of helped get him started and get that business going. And that took a lot of my concentration. So I only did a few friends and family along the way on the massage side of things. And then obviously when everything changed again, it gave me an opportunity to revisit the massage and then build my own business.
So where did the kind of interest or the kind of offshoot into pelvic health come for you? Where did that start?
So at the age of 30, I was diagnosed with endometriosis, and went through 4 laparoscopies and lots of pain, and lots of trips to the hospital, lots of communications with the hospital. And I had discovered that I'd had endometriosis from 13 years old, but didn't know about it. And the effects of the pelvic health now that I've discovered, there are similar symptoms, although everyone's unique, there are similar symptoms that come up time and time again. So it led me to believe that now I was well, or better. Ironically, I had a terrible episode last night, and I was having to resort back to heavy painkillers and heat and all the rest of it. So it still never really goes away, and I'm 46 years old now. But it kind of led me to believe that if I have gone through it and I know how to deal with it, because I've experienced it myself, and then I've seen people go through it myself, and I've helped others. And I'm also a co-leader for the Bedfordshire Support Group for Endometriosis UK. So I hear lots and lots of other women, and also my own clients, come to me with all sorts of pains, and I recognise some of the symptoms of those. So for me, I believe that I have lived experience, and I also have other experience from people. So why not share that experience, and why not help other therapists to see, what I can show, so that they can recognise too and help others.
Well, I think this session today is, I kind of want to come at it from a layperson with no or very little knowledge,
Of course.
because that is pretty much what I am within this. So I've said on previous chats, quite a lot of my clients are female. Probably 3/4 of my clients are female,
Yeah.
and I feel like I've kind of, after kind of chatting and having a bit of a look into this, I feel like I've probably done a bit of disservice to some of them, to be honest. So I kind of feel like I need to know more as well.
Okay.
So in that instance, leads on to the next one. Who do you, within this industry, who do you think needs to know more about it? Do you think it's important for all therapists to know more about pelvic health?
Absolutely. From a base of endometriosis, for example. So for those that don't know what endometriosis is, it's the endometrium cells that bleed at the same time that a woman bleeds, and it's then just bleeding into the pelvis. So it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't come out, it just continues to bleed, and those little bleedings basically stick organs together and hit nerves, and they also create adhesions which can pull and tear within the pelvic cavity. It can't be seen on an ultrasound. So some women will come into a clinic and say, I've got terrible pain. They think it's the womb, so they go to gynecology, and then they say, no, there's nothing wrong with you, but actually it's because it's within the pelvic cavity. So I believe that there's two prongs to this. GPs have a real battle with knowing what endometriosis is and how they can diagnose it or detect it. But then once it is diagnosed and detected, I just had a meeting with the local hospital, so the Luton Dunstable Hospital, there's an endometriosis nurse there. I just had a meeting with them, and their process, once you're in, is super fast now. They have a triage system, you get straight to a consultant, you have scans and MRI. They can detect endometriosis under an MRI now, which they never used to be able to before. So it used to be 10 years to diagnose a condition.
Wow.
Can you imagine waiting? Yeah.
Wow.
10 years.
10 years of pain. It's horrible.
Yeah, and now it's gone down to 7.5 years, but that's still 7.5 years of pain. Whereas if we as a therapist see that pain and aware of endometriosis or other pelvic conditions, PCOS, infertility, all sorts of stuff, if we hear a client come to us or a patient come to us that says, I've got severe back pain, I've got pain running down my thighs, it's a very simple question. Are you on your periods? When was your last period? What contraception do you take? Do you, as soon as you ask a woman, even if you're a man, and ask a woman, because you're in a medical situation, even if you say, how are your periods? Most women will go, yeah, they're not great actually, or yeah, they're fine, or and if they're fine, then fine. We can then look at the musculoskeletal stuff and find out what else is going on. So yes, in answer to your question, I think it's good to know about pelvic health stuff.
I think that's where the confidence side comes into it, doesn't it? And it kind of, you need to approach it, but I think you need to, from my perspective, when I've kind of spoke, because with lower back pain, obviously we do ask some personal questions, about like kind of groin, bowels and stuff like that. So this is just a natural kind of add-on, isn't it?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's, a lot of women probably don't talk to people like me about it, or probably won't come here and expect me to ask it. So I suppose from my perspective, it's learning how to kind of break the ice and kind of go, look, we are going to have to delve into this, but it's for a very specific reason. I'm not just asking them just as a tick box. It's for a reason.
It's relevant. It's absolutely
massively.
relevant, because you could cure the pain. I'm not saying endometriosis is curable, but it's not. But you could work out where the pain is coming from, and then, for example, in your practice, the way that you deal with things, you can then get exercises to help and support strengthening. So my endometriosis improved massively by doing yoga, by strengthening the pelvic area, by strengthening the glutes once I'd gone through my operations. But also with endometriosis, you get incredible fatigue. So it's hard to push that. So you think, okay, well, we'll massage you, get the muscles working. Then from there, we'll get it stronger so that you can do it by yourself. You know, so there's so many options and ways forward to assist women with pelvic problems. Yeah.
So what kind of questions as a therapist, so starting from like basic kind of stuff from somebody who probably doesn't have any of this stuff in their arsenal or on their kind of intake forms, what kind of basic questions would you be asking? And I'm not talking about just in endometriosis, kind of like
All pelvic
pelvic
health.
health. Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone comes to you and they're female, then and they say, oh, I've got really bad back pain, you'll go through normal questions like, have you been in an accident? Now, do you do sport? Have you had any children? You know, what's the cause of the back pain? And most people will tell you why they think they may have back pain. If it's, I don't know why my back hurts, you could start with a conversation. Is it stronger at certain times of the month?
Yeah.
And a woman would say, yeah, I get quite a lot of bad period pain. It would naturally come out like that, you know. So certain times of the month, does your pain become stronger? And if they say no, or you know, do you suffer? So a lot of women with endometriosis suffer quad pain from the groin down to the knee, because there's nerves within the womb sitting there at the front of the pelvis that kick off the nerve pain. And that's a really common thing with endometriosis. So many women complain of this. So another sort of question in is, my lower back is really painful. You've eliminated the fact that they haven't been in an accident, or they haven't done a lot of sport or lifting heavy objects or a load of gardening or whatever. And you're going, okay, and do you get any leg pain at all? And they might go, yeah, actually I do, you know, or no, I don't really get leg pain. Okay, do you suffer nausea? Because that's another symptom. So it's trying to find out what the symptoms are, I think, of endometriosis, or how the hormones can play a game basically with the musculoskeletal as well.
Yeah, because I think that's the trap I kind of fall into. It's kind of, sometimes I get a little bit kind of fall into the trap of it, trying to find an MSK thing.
Yeah.
And
it
it's,
might not be.
you know, yeah, but kind of from what you just described there, I'd go very much down the neural route, because I have quite a bit of an interest in kind of like the neurological side of it.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, right, referred pain, right, what's this? And then I'd probably go at it from a very neurological assessment, you know, kind of dermatomes, myotomes, kind of nerve tension test kind of things.
Yeah.
I'd go it from that point of view, which is probably completely opposite direction of where I need to go, because I might actually end up aggravating. I don't know whether I would.
Maybe could attack a nerve and start kicking something off. But that's not to say that it might not be that. But it's good to eliminate.
Yeah.
So it's more about trying to find out what's actually wrong, which is what we all do, no matter which type of therapy we do. As a general ruling, therapists are now more than ever, I think, a first port of call as opposed to a GP, because a GP is so specified in being general and not specified in what we do, whether it's musculoskeletal or it's looking for other stuff. And it's knowing when to then say, okay, I've got a feeling you may have endometriosis, or you may have PCOS, or there may be something going on within the pelvic region that I don't believe is musculoskeletal. Let's eradicate that. Let's try and get you a GP appointment where you go in to a GP and say, I've been to see a therapist, they've done musculoskeletal testing, they don't believe there's something there at this stage. We do have an issue where I've got a bit of a dodgy pelvis or whatever, on, you know, and it's muscular, but there may be something else that's underlying. And I would like you to test me, test my hormones, and I'd like you to look at the possibility of endometriosis. Please, would you refer me to a gynecologist? At least eradicate it.
That kind of answers my next question, really, because I'm trying to kind of map out in my head kind of what I would do from a clinical standpoint, and it's kind of what would be the next option for us. So if we kind of had this, and it's kind of like, right, where do we need to go with this? Like, where would you refer to? Would GP, or can you kind of send straight on to gynecologist? Because I'll be honest, I'm a little bit.
Yeah, so normally the referral process is to go through to a GP and then get referred from there. However, there's something called the BSGE, so Bravo Sierra Golf Echo, so BSGE. Their website is to do with the British Gynecology, and they will let you refer directly to a hospital. So you can self-refer directly in. It's maybe not the easiest process. It's probably better coming from a GP. But if you're armed as a woman going into a GP saying you've only got 6 minutes, so if you say I've got this, this, and this, and a therapist has already checked this, this, and this, the chances are is that you will be referred and then get in the right place. And like I said before, once you're in the hospital, you're fast tracked. Then you've got your diagnosis, then you're okay, then you can go back to you as a therapist. You go back to your therapist for massage or for strengthening or whatever. Then you know how to work with that woman. So you've got that woman there. So as I've got my therapist hat on now, then you go, right, great. So you've got endometriosis, not so great. However, that doesn't mean life is over. So you can come to me for a massage, and we'll also work with strength to get you up and running so that you're not in as much pain. But I'm so tired. So what supplements are you taking? What are you doing for your health? Loads of donuts. Okay, so you've got to stop doing that. You know, there's loads of things that you can then work with. So it's not over. Your therapist, you know, started you on the journey, signposted you. Come back to me when everything's like diagnosed, and then we can help.
So takes me on to the next little bit. So you're going to be presenting a new pelvic health series for STA members.
Yeah.
So I brought up on screen there kind of the 5 areas that you have chosen, or kind of that you're going to be looking at.
Yeah.
So do you want to kind of talk us through briefly a little bit about what you'll be kind of covering in each of those? So
thank you, Scott. Yeah, in no way, shape or form am I an expert in any of these things in any way, shape or form at all. I'm not a doctor, and I do not pretend to even think I know all about any of these subjects. But in my experience, and also in the experience of people coming to me, these are discussion topics where they're quite sort of trendy at the moment, aren't they? Menopause and things. I guess it's quite out there at the moment. But the reason I'm wanting to sort of talk about it more is because actually it affects the body so much more than we realize. So menopause, perimenopause, it affects joints, it affects everything that sways women's hormones, affects everything. So I've seen frozen shoulders that are due to the menopause, changing of hormones, and we will think that it goes musculoskeletal, there must have been a problem and whatever, and yes it is, but also if the hormones are balancing better, then actually we can work quicker to get that shoulder moving, or you know, whatever. So I'm not saying that I'm a definite expert, but I do think they're open for discussion, and I welcome other people's experiences as well, on coming to a support, because I don't think anybody's really got menopause down to a T yet.
I suppose I mean, I've known women, you know, through family and what have you, who've gone through the menopause, and I can honestly say every single one of them has probably experienced it in a different way. You know, so it's not a kind of, this is what happens, that's how it ends. It's not, is it? And
No.
That's coming in from a male perspective. So with the menopause, so what kind of stuff are you going to kind of touch on in that kind of sector then?
So menopause, once it's kind of already started, and so the crossover between perimenopause and when we notice the symptoms can be early as well. And some people go into menopause early. So some people are medically put into menopause because of endometriosis, or they could be medically for other reasons. So menopause, once it's kind of already started, then how to look after the body and how that has an effect on the pelvis, and the whole area that sleep patterns, back pain, and also bearing in mind that your pelvic girdle, and your shoulder girdle are very linked. If your pelvis is stable and your shoulders are stable, the rest of it kind of like sorts itself out. But if something goes, you'll often find if someone's got pain in their pelvis somewhere, they've often got a shoulder pain as well. You've probably seen that yourself, Scott. Men as well, I'm not just saying it's women. So I think that's quite important. And then for perimenopause, it's about when it started. And you may have noticed when, as a woman in your 30s, things were a bit kind of crazy, and then it got kind of a bit more crazy, and then like you think, am I going crazy? And then again, the pains that are coming for it. Pelvic health, on item number 3 there. Let's not just discuss the hormones. What about the musculoskeletal stuff? There are other things that are going on within the pelvis. And I think one client said to me a few weeks ago, you must just see bottom after bottom after bottom. And I'm like, yep, that's the job. So there's a lot of other things going on that are musculoskeletal as well. And then they can present in different ways and confuse us, I think. So I think that's quite a good topic to pick up. Endometriosis, I'll be discussing that at the Therapy Expo as well, and how to kind of spot it. And then period pains. So you may not have endometriosis, but you might still have painful periods, and it might not be endometriosis, it might be something else. And it might sort of come through, there may be IBS, there may be PCOS, there may be all sorts of other things going on. And for us as therapists, we've just got to ask the question, even if it's embarrassing, because if someone's in pain, you don't want them to be in pain. You don't want them to be stiff and uncomfortable. That's why we're in this job in the first place. So if something's painful, it might not be endometriosis, it might be something else. And it's good to open the can of worms and get us talking about it and how we help each other.
Yeah, I think you've kind of just hit the nail on the head there a little bit. I imagine most therapists got into this. Let's face it, it's sometimes it's a bit of a thankless job. We take on everybody else's problems. But at the same time, we do it to help people.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be scared of asking those questions, because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help people. We're not just asking it because we're some randomer. So it's about becoming comfortable. And I think that's why this series will be quite helpful, because it'll give people a bit more knowledge, a bit more confidence in asking those questions and asking the right questions. So if somebody comes back and goes, yes, my back pain does get worse when I'm on my period, you don't just go, okay, you know where to go next.
Yeah,
because that's the bit, isn't it? Because if they come back and say yes, what do you do with that? You go, right, do we stop the session? Do we refer on? Do we carry on? It's and it could potentially open up a whole new minefield. And speaking from a male point of view, yes, I've got, I grew up with women. I live with my fiance. I've worked professionally in my old job with a lot of women, probably 90% women. But I still don't have that. I can't speak from experience with this kind of stuff, because, and anatomically, I just don't have this.
Yeah.
So I think for me, as good as this is for the female therapists in the STA, I think it's probably really, really, really beneficial for the males as well.
Just to know how to ask the right questions, or then once that information, like you say, Scott, once that information comes back to you, okay, then how do I help this woman? How do I fix this situation? And you might not be able to fix it completely, but you can certainly help her to help fix it somehow. For example, endometriosis has no cure, but that doesn't mean we have to live in consistent pain. I said to you last night, I had a flare up, and it was a killer, and I knew how to handle it. And look at me today. I was paddleboarding earlier, and I'm fine. I'm okay now. So there are ways to be able to cope with it and deal with it. And I think, again, with all of these subjects that I've got up there, there's many more actually that you could talk about. But like you say, with the nerve, when you go onto a nerve situation, you deal with things in a different way. There are other options that I think will get feedback from other therapists, and I welcome that, to say, well, actually, I say this, and that can help other male therapists go, oh, and I hadn't thought of that, because I'm not the oracle here. You know, we're all in it to help everybody, each other. I'm just going in and going, okay, guys, it's period time. Let's talk about it. And it's just tough.
Literally open up a can of worms and let it just go. Yeah. No, I think it's good, because discussion is good, because everybody learns from discussion, rather than just sitting back and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Okay, so Debs, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. So there's going to be more information coming up soon from you, I imagine, on when these are going to be starting. We're not a million miles from Christmas, so so Debs will be putting on the members group about how this is going to work and when these are going to be released. If anybody wants to speak to Debs or anything, you've got STA email address now?
Yeah, apparently
what's
so.
that? Off the top of my head, because I remember seeing it in an email. I'm sure it's debs@thesta.co.uk. And if anybody wants to contact me about anything, whether it's any of these STA extras or any of the regional rep stuff, scott@thesta.co.uk as well. Debbie, once again, thanks for joining. We will catch up again very, very soon.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.